Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you noticed that Jerry Lawler hasn't been active in the past couple of matches. A little bit earlier tonight, Jerry passed out here at ringside. Jerry collapsed and was helped to the back. He was stretchered to the back to the locker room area, and we understand now that Jerry is receiving medical attention as we speak. They are performing CPR, and again, it is not part of tonight's entertainment. This has happened, and again, Jerry Lawler collapsing at ringside tonight, and they're performing CPR as we speak back in the locker room area. We'll have more information as Monday Night Raw rolls on tonight.
The following show is a Pod Avenue production. You are cordially invited to have dinner with the King. Pull up a chair and join WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler and Glenn Moore. Enjoy.
Here at Jerry Lawler's Memphis Barbecue Company, I'm digging in this waffle fries and my deep fried ribs, Jerry. And I know you're digging over there in your food. You shouldn't be eating that on this episode.
Those aren't deep fried ribs. You're just having ribs. The deep fried ribs we have down at my club on Beale Street.
Oh,
see, now you can't even tell the difference in what you're eating.
Listen. I guess it puts it in front of me. I don't even taste it. I just inhale it, and I'm all satisfied for the show. But Jerry,
there you go.
We're talking about eating barbecue each and every week here at your barbecue restaurant here in Cordova. But this is a very special episode. When we started planning this podcast, months ago, this was the episode that we wanted to do, especially on the the anniversary of this event. It's 5 years. A couple days ago was the 5-year anniversary. I mean, do you call something that happened like that an anniversary? Because it seems like it's like something you celebrate. I mean, what do you officially call it? I mean, I don't. Is it anniversary? I guess.
Well, yeah. Anna, I think comes the word annual,
right?
And so I mean, yeah, it's the recognition of something that happened that you recognize it every year. It's like like they have the Elvis weeks. I don't know if I guess they do celebrate the anniversary of Elvis's death. So they never celebrate his birthday here in Memphis. It's always it's the anniversary of his death that they acknowledge every year. So I guess that you could call it an anniversary.
All right. So it's a 5-year anniversary of your cardiac arrest, live on Monday Night Raw up in Montreal on September 10th, 2012. Well, it's been 5 years. Time is flying by. So we decided.
Time flies when you're living. Kind of slows down after you die. Calls taper off and that sort of thing.
But we're going to have Sampson, Dr. Michael Sampson, who was the WWE ringside physician, the WWE doctor, when you had your cardiac arrest up in Montreal. So we're going to have him on the show later, give his side, his point of view. I know you guys did something for, I think, Entertainment Tonight, but I can't find it anywhere online. So we're going to sort of say
might not have been Entertainment Tonight. I don't remember, but it was a show like that. One of those. Those kind of shows aren't on that much anymore. But anyway, no, it might have been Extra or I don't know, one of those shows.
Yeah, it was one of those.
But with the one thing, listen, I don't want you to tell him that we're sitting here eating barbecue and ribs and all of that sort of stuff, because he'll get all mad and get all over me and that kind of thing.
I remember like months after this happened, you came to Cleveland because obviously big Cleveland fan. And, I live up there in Cleveland, and, sometimes we meet to go out to dinner or lunch, and, we met up, and I was like, where you want to go to eat, Jerry? And you go, let's go to Five Guys. I'm like, Jerry, you had a cardiac arrest, X amount of months ago, and now you want to go to Five Guys and scarf down some burgers? He's like, yeah, why not?
Well, what was funny was, when I was actually in the hospital in Montreal, I don't know why they said you can eat whatever you want. They never put me on any kind of restrictive diet or anything. Wow. And I sent out, and Lauren went out and got this huge steak dinner and brought it in, and then we actually took a picture. send. I mean, I got these little heart monitor things all over my chest and no shirt on, and I got this big steak dinner sitting in front of me in the hospital, and that photograph that went around then caused the honky tonk man, my cousin, Wayne Ferris. He doubted and put out all over his Twitter feed and all this kind of stuff that I really didn't have a heart attack, that it was all a part of the wrestling show and that sort of stuff. And the main reason he cited was, how can you have a heart attack and eat a big steak dinner like the next day or something like that? But no, I've never been on a restrictive diet or anything, and I've never changed my ways of eating. Hence the barbecue here today and the Five Guys a month or so afterwards, and still my favorite food in the world is fried chicken. So
there's actual conspiracy theories out there, Jerry, that you did not have this heart attack, cardiac arrest. It was a part of the show. There's actual conspiracy theory videos out there about this, explaining
videos
on YouTube. There's a couple, but I mean, it's not like we didn't land on the moon or anything, conspiracy level. But I mean, it's there are people out there that believe that you did not have a cardiac arrest, and this is all was part of the show, or this wasn't. It was part of the WWE entertainment aspect. I can't believe people actually would believe that.
Well, I guess I really did have, but in all honesty, that's what we have talked about many times, and I'll tell Doc today when he calls in that to me it is like it didn't really happen. It's like I didn't have anything because I had no after effects, no ill effects, I had no damage or anything to my heart. So I can't remember the actual incident itself. So to me, it's like it didn't happen.
Right. So
I'll go along with the conspiracy theories sometimes, but it wasn't something that was set up by the WWE. I can assure you of that.
I know you've done a lot of interviews about it. You talk about it every single day when someone sees you. So, you're right. I mean, you don't remember it yourself. So, we'll get into more with Doc. But my question for you is, you were in the middle of an angle with CM Punk. He attacked you a couple times before this. There was a angle after when Heyman faked the heart attack in the ring when you came back. Obviously, this put a halt to anything going on with CM Punk. Was that supposed to be something more happened with that storyline if this cardiac arrest didn't happen?
Honestly, I don't know. And I think still to this day, but especially then, and I think still to this day, the guys don't really know what your storyline, so to speak, is going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it can change at the whim of the writers or at the whim of Vince McMahon or whatever. I think they can put two guys together. In that case, put CM Punk and I together in a match, and you don't know where it's going to go. And I think it's all up to the writers watch it. Vince McMahon watches the match, and if they like what they see, they'll continue putting those two guys against each other. And if they just see any little thing in there that they don't like, boom, it can be cut off in an instant. A lot of times you see things that you think where two wrestlers are being built up to go against each other, and then boom, something happens, and it just gets cut off. So I really have no idea. I know at the time, I think did I have a cage match or something against Punk, and then the night of the cardiac arrest, it was actually me and Randy Orton in a match against CM Punk and Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah. So I was just curious, if that the cardiac arrest didn't happen, that would have led to a one-on-one match, payoff match or blow-off match at a pay-per-view, because he was WWE champion at the time too. So if you would have had a WWE championship match like you did the year before with The Miz. So I was just curious about that, watching some of the episodes before the cardiac arrest and then following, if that was.
Well, you know what? They like you said, the year before, they gave me that championship match on my birthday against The Miz. And who knows, this was September. My birthday's in November. So maybe they could have that could have been something that they had in mind, like a birthday and another birthday present with a title match there with Punk. Who knows?
Have you watched that Raw at all, or watched the footage of Cole talking, giving updates to the fans when you were obviously in the hospital during that time? Have you watched that at all or anything?
Yeah, I've seen the footage, and I've seen that of Michael. Michael did a awesome job of kind of maintaining control of what, the oldest saying in entertainment is show must go on, no matter what happens. And sure enough, with that thought in mind, that Michael did a tremendous job of keeping the show going and controlling his own personal feelings there and that sort of thing. And then I think even towards the end, I think that Vince probably felt the feelings that Cole was having at the time. And I think then Vince there for the end just said, hey, let's just stop the commentary.
Yeah.
And I think, for the last few minutes of the show, there was just no commentary at all, which was, hey, it was, it was, I don't know, it was very compelling to watch that, and really weird for me to watch it back to see, you actually see the, them loading me. There's footage of them loading me in the ambulance and the doc pounding on my chest, doing the CPR while the ambulance is driving away. And that is really a weird. I mean, I can't even tell you the feeling that you have when you watch something like that happening to somebody else is bad enough. But then when you realize, hey, that's me. That's me in that footage there, that they're giving CPR to and that they're loading in the ambulance, and you don't even you're really not even there because I was completely unconscious, had no idea of what was going on at all at the time. But when you see it back later, it's really weird.
And the picture you post a couple days ago on the anniversary wasn't a picture of you all happy, here in 2017. It was a picture of, hey, me 5 years ago. Here's me, black and blue, laying on the gurney.
Yeah, basically dead. I've shown that picture to Lauren, and I say, look, babe, this is what I'm going to look like when you see me laying in my casket. She goes, oh, stop! What is wrong with you? What are you saying? But how many people have a picture of themselves basically dead?
Jesus, King.
Well, what?
I mean, not many. Not
in
many
it,
people.
in a morbid sense of it's kind of cool in a morbid kind of way,
No, I agree. I'm morbid in my curiosities with certain things, and I totally agree. I mean, that's a cool picture to have of yourself.
Yeah, you always like to refer to that incident of me being brain dead, and that's just not right. I was not brain dead.
You could have been, though. I mean, it was amazing that you survived that with really.
Oh, I could have been. Look at my phone's ringing there, but I'll cut that off.
You could have been. I mean, you could have been. With all what was going on. I mean, you came out there unscathed, basically, other than your voice.
Oh yeah, we'll talk to the doc about that later. But yeah, I couldn't have been more fortunate.
When you were in the hospital and you woke up and you see Lauren, standing there, and I know guys have to travel and the show must go on for that week. But did you hear about guys coming up to the hospital after the show, visiting, trying to see if you're okay and whatnot?
Everybody had to move on. Right. Let me see. Somebody did come. I think there's Lauren is at the other table watching us eat this food over there. I don't know, but who came to see me? Well, did Pat Patterson came? Of course, Pat Patterson lives in Montreal. Pat Patterson came, and guess who else showed up at the hospital?
Who?
Tom Savini.
Really?
My friend Tom Savini showed up. Yes, he did. He came to visit me.
We actually ate dinner with Tom. And
the night we got out of the hospital, we went and ate dinner with Tom Savini.
He lives in Pittsburgh, or
he's from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Absolutely. I've been to his house many times. It's awesome.
Comic-Con going on.
And the reason Tom was there was a Comic-Con going on that weekend in Montreal, and Tom was making an appearance there, and he was nice enough to come by and check on me there in the hospital.
Shatner wanted to come by because he was.
And William Shatner did not come by, but he was there, and he asked about me, and he sent word, that he was thinking about me and that sort of stuff. So
I remember. I mean, personally, I was watching Raw at home, and I remember that night I had pizza rolls and I had milk in my Taste of the Browns glass they give you when you go to the Taste of the Browns. It was a 2012 edition. And I remember watching what was going on, and I'm freaking out myself because I think we've been friends, well, quote unquote friends, for a couple of years. So I was concerned about you, and I think I was texting Lauren, a few days later, and she was giving me updated on what was going on. But it was just amazing, all the false information that was being spread around. Like you said, when we talk with with Doc, he'll explain some more thing in detail. But just all the misinformation that was being put out there about you being clinically brain dead, and having all these stents put in and whatnot. So I mean, it was really for me one of my wrestling heroes who I can call a friend. This is going on. It was really heartbreaking for me to see this transpire.
Well, and that's sweet. Glenn, is that a tear in your eye there?
I mean, it was
a little misty-eyed.
I didn't, it was a very hectic time, and I think the first text I got from you after that was the photo of the meal where you had steak and you had a salad and you had a roll and you had your meal and you had the tubes all over you and the wires all over you, and that was a photo. It wasn't even words. It was just a photo, and I'm like, oh, he's okay. He's all right.
Right. Well, exactly. But Lauren, lean over here by the microphone now. How did the steak dinner come about? Lauren has to fill me in on all of the things that actually happened while I was in the hospital, because all I know is when I woke up, she was the first thing that I saw, and I had no clue where I was or what had even happened. How did the steak dinner come about?
The steak dinner came about because I was pretty much eating the same thing every day in this Montreal hospital. Nobody spoke English except for one lady that was from Jamaica, and she was she wasn't a nurse, but she worked at the hospital. She took really good care of me, and put me a chair beside Jerry. I got to stay there like the whole time, right beside him, and I just kept eating the same hamburgers from the cafeteria, and I was really sick of eating the same thing, but I kept asking the doctors when he could eat something normal, and they told us that day, and I asked him what he wanted, and he wanted steak, and they agreed that he could. So this place delivered it to the hospital, steak, potato, and salad, and anyway, so that was his first meal that he got to have.
Yeah, that was very good. It was awesome. But yeah, Lauren, that one of the things that she mentioned, the fact in Montreal, I don't know why they do that in Montreal, but they hang on to their the French heritage so much that even though they're in a predominantly English-speaking country of Canada, most of the people in Montreal continue to speak French, and a lot of them French only. It was really like in that hospital, as you said, there was only basically one nurse that communicated with us in English. It was tough. But they were great people, and especially that lady, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah. Everybody there was great, but not everybody spoke English, so I would ask questions, and they would just kind of look at me like they didn't know.
And sometimes I think some of them can speak English, but they just refuse to, and they won't acknowledge. They'll act like they don't know what you're talking about when you talk to them in English. WWE had actually given me a hotel for the entire week. They rented me a hotel, but I went one night. His son Brian Christopher was there with me. We went to the hotel the first night, and I didn't want to leave his side, but the taxi drivers did not speak English, so I was just afraid to go back. Once Brian left, he had to come back to the States and work, and so I was there by myself, and I was just not wanting to leave the hospital. So they were all really great. They were really great to me. And then once he came to and needed to get a shower and those type of things, he didn't want the nurses to do anything. He wanted me to be his nurse, and the women they were like, "This is our job. This is what we do." They just want to see me naked. I had to wear those little gowns with no back to it. It was awful.
Oh, jeez.
You don't want to think about that while we're eating, do you?
No, I'm not hungry anymore.
That's a first. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk some more with the doc about that. Look at outside how it's raining. What about this Hurricane Irma? I can't escape it. I mean, we were down in Florida at our condo, Lauren and I, and all of a sudden, we have our condo in Fort Myers, and all of this talk about, Hurricane Irma, the biggest hurricane of the century or of all time, I guess, is bearing down on Florida, and everybody was scared and evacuating, and the interstates were packed. You couldn't get out of the state. I mean, and so we finally got a flight out on last Thursday before the thing hit on on a Saturday, I think. And it was just, we were scared to death that when we came back, we weren't even going to have a condo. But we just got word yesterday that everything was fine. There was still no power there, but we didn't get any damage. A lot of trees down near our condo and everything, but no flooding or no damage to our condo. But now Hurricane Irma, the remnants of it are the eye, what would have been the eye of the hurricane is right over Memphis right now. Today as we're recording this, and it's pouring down raining out there.
Well, it's not. You're not going to get any high force winds. You're just going to have a lot of rain for the next, I think, day and a half. I think.
Yeah. No, it's just going to rain. I mean, no, it's not windy at all. The temperature dropped down to like 50-something degrees from being in the 90s, which is really kind of nice.
Yeah, it's and Chris Perez, who co-owns Pot Avenue with me, he's down in Tampa, and I was texting with him a lot. He was all gearing up, ready for the storm. He has, his windows are all storm proof and whatnot, and he's A-okay. No flooding, no damage to his house and whatnot. So I think he has no power, and obviously no internet and whatnot. So and the cell towers, they're really hard to get text through to him. Some didn't really go through. So I know they're experiencing a lot of outages for power. Obviously, like 3 million people are without power down there. So I know we have a lot of listeners down in Florida. So hope the people are safe, and hopefully they get power back soon and be able to resume life. But some areas were hit, really.
Oh
hard.
yeah. You see the video of some places, a lot of flooding, and especially the Keys. I think they still don't know all the damage that was done down there. And then I saw some really sad stuff on the news before I came over here today about trees falling on people, and people being killed in Georgia and different places by trees being blown down on people. It's just it's not. I mean, I'm really fortunate. We're thinking about our condo being damaged, but there have been a lot of people's lives affected by this thing.
Yeah, and when you're packing up stuff and you're getting your house ready, you got to bring in your rake and your shovel when you're.
You heard about that, right?
I saw that on Channel 3 down in Memphis. I saw your TV appearance. Your neighbor's calling. There are going to be missiles.
We had already left. We had flown back to Memphis, and my next door neighbor calls me up and said, "Do you know, it was this nice little lady that lives next door to us. She's maybe in the almost, I don't know, late 60s or 70s, something like that. And she was going to write it out, but I understand that later they did do a mandatory evacuation. They made everybody leave their home in our area where our condo was.
They can't make you leave. They can say it's mandatory, but they can't make you leave.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
No, seriously.
They can't make you leave at gunpoint or anything like that, right?
No, they weren't. I don't. Well, they explain it on the news. It's a mandatory, like they're telling you to get out. But you have you don't lose your rights as an American just because a storm's coming.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, because we have other really close friends down there.
Yeah.
Amanda Wells and her boyfriend Josh and her mom. Her mom is not bedridden, but she's kind of sickly, and they have 7 dogs. And they just said, we can't leave. We can't leave our house. We can't get out of there. So people like that were stuck. My next door neighbor did, though, leave, but then she called me back and said, do you know that you left a shovel and a rake on your back lanai? And I said, oh my gosh, I do now. I guess I forgot about it. And then she said, yeah, those things can turn into missiles during a hurricane, and when they do, I hope they go in to bust out your windows instead of mine.
Wow.
And I went, oh yeah, right, that's my next door neighbor. So I called someone, sent them over, and they removed the shovel and rake and everything before the hurricane hit. But fortunately, everything went okay. And when her screens, her back lanai got all blown out, and mine were unscathed. So, yeah.
Somehow she'll probably blame it on you or something, maybe. I don't know. Chris Jericho, who was in Tampa, he stayed in Tampa during the storm. He was tweeting a lot of videos. He threw all his lawn furniture in the pool because I guess that's what you're supposed to do.
Really?
I guess you're supposed. I mean, obviously not the cushions or whatnot, but like the actual, framework of the furniture, you throw it in the pool. So when the wind comes, it's not blowing it around. It's just sitting in the pool. Then when the storm's over, you take it out of the pool.
Oh, okay.
I guess
should have done that with my shovel.
Just throw it in the pool. It's all right. But yeah, so hopefully everybody who listens to the podcast down in Florida, stay safe. And
absolutely.
Are you going back down there soon to see?
We're gonna go actually next week and check everything out and make sure it's okay. But the lady, our little neighbor, she said I walked completely around your place, and it's funny because the people 2 doors down from us, and we were getting ready to leave, and we had to leave in about an hour to go to the airport, and all of a sudden I get a knock on the door, and it's the lady that lived 2 doors down from me, and this was like 2 days before the hurricane hit, and it was 95 degrees and bright sunshine. And the lady said, could you come and help me? My husband's at work, and he sent me to Home Depot to buy 15 sheets of 4x8 plywood, the half-inch plywood, 4 foot by 8 foot sheets, and they're in the back of her truck, and she couldn't get the back bed down to unload them. So she asked me to come over and unload these 15 sheets of plywood that her husband's going to later cut up to board up their windows. So now an hour before I got to go to a flight, I'm over there trying to pull these things out of the back of her truck, and it was unbelievable. And immediately I got a big splinter in my finger. And so then she went and she said, I don't have gloves, but I got some oven mitts. So I wish we'd have had a picture of that. I'm unloading, I got on 2 oven mitts, and I'm unloading the 15 sheets of big 4x8 half-inch plywood out of the back of this pickup truck. And so naturally, by the time I'm ready to go to the airport, I'm drenched in sweat, soaking wet. And but I guess she got her windows boarded up. I didn't board my windows at all. And the lady, my neighbor, said that nothing got broken. Everything was fine.
That's awesome. Well, that's good to hear. And it's just the power of the storm was just, not awesome in a cool way. It's just awesome as in the force of it. Sucking all the water from the beaches. You can.
Oh yeah,
that was amazing to see, because obviously that doesn't happen. The storm just sucking all that water from the ocean and just dropping it, and now it's being dropped on you. Us right now.
Our Fort Myers Beach right there, a picture of that I had taken of Lauren just like last week of her at Fort Myers Beach with the ocean right there in front of her, and then we have a pier that goes out that people can fish off of, and the water's at the end of the pier. The ocean water is probably maybe 10 or 20 feet deep. By that point, and the pier comes all the way up to the beach, and there's a picture of Lauren standing there in front of that pier in her bikini in the water and all the beautiful ocean. And then there's a picture from the exact same vantage point taken one day before the hurricane hit, and there's no water. You can't even see the ocean. It had sucked the water somehow. I don't even know how it does that or what happens on that, but it had sucked the water so far out you couldn't even see any ocean at all. It's crazy.
And then there's some people on the East Coast by Miami when the storm hit, they were windsurfing on the water. So people windsurfing. Yeah, they had their boards, and they had their kites, whatever they used to windsurf, which was. Obviously, you got to have big balls to do that if you're going to do that during a hurricane. Let's go to one question before we get Dr. Sampson's going to call in. The one question is from Mike, and he is in Iowa. And he wants to know, Jerry, obviously you being a WWE, you compete on the indie scene. Actually, you just did a double shot.
I did a double shot. I did something that I haven't done since back in the territory days, I don't think. Back in the day, it was nothing to wrestle once, twice, sometimes even 3 times in a day. And when I first started, let me tell you this: when I first started in the business, I'll never forget Tommy Gilbert, Eddie Gilbert, and Doug Gilbert's father and I started about the same time, and he and I would travel together sometimes, and we would take turns because of all the miles that we were putting on each other's cars. But we would start out. There was a TV show on in Jackson, Tennessee, at a live TV. These were all live TV shows, and you would go and you'd wrestle on that TV show at 9. This was before we were even good enough to make the Memphis TV. But so we were, I think, on a Jackson, I believe, at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and that show lasted an hour. And then we would jump in our car and we would drive up to Nashville, which was about 120 miles from Jackson. And we'd wrestle. Nashville had a live wrestling show at like 3:00 in the afternoon in Nashville on Saturday. We would get out of our cars and we would jump in the ring and wrestle in Nashville, get back in our car, drive down to Chattanooga, and they had a live TV show on in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which was about maybe 150 miles from Nashville. We'd drive down to Chattanooga, do Chattanooga TV at like 6:00, and then jump in our car again and drive down to Birmingham, Alabama, where they had a live TV show at 10:00 at night on Saturday, and we'd wrestle there. So we'd wrestle 4 TV matches in one day and travel all those miles driving. And so, that way, and it was crazy. And you know how much you got paid for each one of those TV shows? The match?
What year was this?
Oh my gosh, maybe 71 or 72.
I want to say, so you were just starting out. So I would say $100 a match.
Oh, really?
No.
Try $15.
What?
$15 a match. Barely enough. I know this sounds crazy, but gas at that time, when I first started the business, a gallon of gas cost 25 cents.
That is $15 a match.
Yeah.
So you earned $60 just in that
day
doing that. So
I thought I was making money then, boy. $60 a day.
$15 a match. Inflation to now here in 2017 is $92.
Oh, okay.
So I mean that's not bad.
Yeah, so I would have made you would be almost making it would be almost like you're making $400 a day, right?
For an indie wrestler now, that's pretty darn good.
But the thing of it was, what we were talking about was the amount of travel you did and how many matches you sometimes did in a day. So then what I did this past week, I wrestled this past Saturday night. I wrestled in Dyersburg, Tennessee. I wrestled a guy, Matt Riviera from Arkansas. Wrestled Matt Riviera in Dyersburg, Tennessee on like the third match. And then I jumped in my car, and Lauren and I and Lauren's dad, we drove over to about 45 minutes over to Jackson, Tennessee, and wrestled the main event against Carlito in Jackson, Tennessee at the Oman Arena.
And I'm sure you made a lot more than $15, right?
I did well. I did. The inflation has really transferred into something better than $15. Yeah.
You've talked about your booking fee. I mean, on the show, you've let everybody know how much. So did you get your full booking for each show, or how does that work?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
wow.
You get your full booking for each show.
And
And sometimes in a place like the Dyersburg, some of those bookings are better. Like just for instance, the show in Dyersburg, Matt Riviera was helping this guy promote, and they do shows often there, and it's a very small arena that they just try to have a little weekly show. They're almost doing it more as a hobby than they are trying to make money at it. And so Matt Riviera is trying to help this guy out. So Matt Riviera footed the bill for my appearance fee for me to come and actually wrestle against Matt Riviera there in Dyersburg. And sometimes when you don't want to go to a place and wrestle, when you're not really crazy about it, what you try to do when they're negotiating with you is you try to price them out of asking you to come. so like if it's some little podunk place you really don't want to go to, you'll give them this like a high booking fee figure, and then they'll say, well, I'd love to have you, but I can't afford you. And so that's what I tried to do in Dyersburg, because I was already booked. I was already booked in Jackson for Burt Prentice at the USA Wrestling, and they called me and said, please, we'll let you be on the second match, and you can still make it over there. And so anyway, I gave them what I thought was a high figure for them, and they said, okay, we'll pay you. Come on.
Oh, hopefully Matt has listened to the podcast and realized that you tried.
Oh no, I mean it's not a high figure. I mean, what it is, it's like the figure that I usually ask for most places that I go to. It's in a close area.
Okay.
If it's further away, I ask for more. But in a close area, it was. Sometimes I'll do things that are really close for less money shots. But
back to the question. Matt is saying, you're with WWE. You're wrestling with the Indies, and I guess we're seeing a lot of current WWE stars appear on indie shows. I think AJ Styles appeared at the indie show in Georgia, where he's from, over the weekend. I think the Hardy Boys had an indie show, but I think they had the contract set with the indie show before they came back to WWE. But you are seeing some WWE stars on indie shows. Now, Matt wants to know, can you give us insight on the official, can WWE stars work indie events, or is there in your contract, WWE says you can't do that?
Well, apparently, no. Definitely in your contract, WWE says you can't do that. I mean, when you sign a contract with the WWE, it's pretty much exclusive. However, WWE wrestlers are technically, tax-wise, considered independent contractors. Okay. So, in that sense, you are really, truly, supposedly allowed to work wherever you want to. But it's just an understanding, and it's in the contract that WWE will basically keep you booked where you're not available to do anything else. But if something else arises, it's been a long, I think they call them third-party appearance. That's been a long-standing thing, that if somebody else wants to book, say for instance AJ Styles, I'm sure what they did, they called the office and made an offer. And then, then the office will then look and see if it's a viable thing, that, if AJ is not working somewhere that night. And then I think they would call AJ Styles and ask him, hey, or tell him, hey, we have a third party appearance offer. Would you like to take it? And then, then they leave it, which is to me, it's a great situation.
Definitely.
That if the guys want it, they can then go and do that. And you're seeing a lot of that happen with like Comic Cons and those kind of appearances.
So if I was a promoter, if I had a wrestling show, and I'm sure AJ Styles can't wrestle for my quote unquote wrestling show, but he can make an appearance if I pay the fee. So if I wanted, John Cena, and he was free on a Thursday night for some reason, just because whatever, and I paid the fee to WWE, and John Cena appeared on my show, that could realistically happen if the stars align and everybody agrees, correct?
Yeah, if the stars aligned and everybody agrees, and it would go through the exact same channels that I just mentioned. You have a show and you want a WWE superstar there, and in your mind you want John Cena, you call the WWE, you say, hey, here's my show. I would like to have John Cena if he's available. And they tell you what his fee would be. And then if you're still conscious, if you haven't fainted, then you would, then they would, and you say, yeah, I can pay that. Then they would call John and say, hey, we have an offer for you for this event or for this day. Do you want to accept it? That's how that works. I was just on a show with Chris Jericho and Mick Foley, for Michael O'Brien just a couple of weeks ago. And that's the protocol that you go to get that done.
And Corey Graves, who is obviously full-time commentator, he still makes indie appearances. Obviously not as a wrestler, but he does the autograph appearance and whatnot. Sure. So yeah, Mike in Iowa, wanted to know, and I was curious myself, because you see AJ Styles at a indie event with the United States title. It's very interesting that happens, because you don't see that happen much at all.
Well, and the reason is because. Well, two reasons. First of all,
money.
Money. It's usually prohibitive for a promoter to be able to pay what these guys, what the asking fee is. Second of all, the WWE usually keeps these guys. Whenever you're running a show or an event, it's usually on the weekend, and the WWE always has weekend shows. So most of these guys are already booked, and then. Then third of all, if they're not booked, a lot of the times it would be on a guy's day off. And man, days off in the WWE are few and far between, and the guys relish the time off when they get days off. So they usually don't want to go out and do a third-party appearance, if instead of being off.
So what if say that the Miz, who I'm friends with, the Miz, I'm a wrestling guy, and the Miz is like, okay, I'll come on your show, I'll come to your event because I know you and we're friends, and Mike mentions that or something like that to WWE, and he wants to give me a discount, being a friend or knowing the person. Could that happen too, or WWE?
That can happen.
Okay.
And then the protocol you would follow on that is you would first approach Mike or the Miz,
right,
and ask him, and then if he was willing to do it, then he would call up the WWE people and say, "Hey, I'm off this day. This guy's a friend of mine. Can we cut him a deal?
Right.
I'd like to do his event." Yeah, that happens sometimes too.
Very interesting.
Why is that interesting? That's not interesting. Is it really?
Yeah, I think. Well, a lot of people, when you see AJ Styles in an indie event, say, "Why? How is this happening?" He's a WWE star. I thought it's forbidden. It would never ever happen. But if you have the money and the funds, and the stars align with the dates, I guess it can happen.
Yeah.
So.
And it's just like, and the reason people wonder about things like that, just like me being in Dyersburg, Tennessee the other night, I guarantee you, without a shadow of a doubt, they paid me, or Matt Riviera paid me, twice as much money as they took in selling out the building, even selling out the building that they had at whatever ticket prices they charged. That I guarantee you, they paid me more than twice what their total gate was.
Jeez.
But it's like a lost leader. I mean, it gets attention. It attracts attention on their. I'm sure that a lot of people were there that had never been to that, didn't even know about the wrestling shows in Dyersburg before they advertised, that I was going to be there and that sort of thing. So when you have somebody that has some name value come into your promotion or your event, it creates it creates attention for down the road, and then they're just hoping that those people that were there that night will come back, even when they don't have a WWE superstar on the card or something.
Who is this Jerry Lawler guy?
I don't know. I guarantee you they put up posters in Dyersburg for you, Jerry. A lot of people are saying, Jerry Lawler, is he still? What the heck? I used to see him back in the 70s here in Dyersburg.
Well, Doc just texted me and said he's ready to call in. But really quick, when you had the match,
listen really quick. One of my favorite stories about Dyersburg, Tennessee. I think I already told this anyway one time about that. But Dyersburg was where we used to wrestle in a little American Legion building with one doorway and one entranceway into this little. That opened up into the little building where all the fans would sit, but everybody had to come in and go out. I don't know how the fire marshal ever approved it, but you all had to come in and go out through one door, and it would be like 110 degrees in there. There was no air conditioning, and they would just set up in front of that one door after everybody got in there. They'd set up one of those tall, big fans, like a big 40-inch fan that would blow some air and keep some air circulating inside the little arena while the show was going on. And one night the place was packed. 100 degrees. This one fan is blowing the only air that would go into that building. And Sam Bass and I were sitting in the locker room, the little closet thing that we dressed in. And a policeman friend of ours had given us a couple of cans of mace. And so Sam had the brilliant idea, which wound up getting me fired, but he said, wonder what would happen if you shot some mace into that fan.
Oh,
no. So I said, well, we'll find out. Naturally, the idiot that I was, I went over and picked up my can of mace and I fired it right into the back of that fan, which was blowing out into the arena. And the people couldn't even see who did it, because the way the door was set up. And I fired this whole can of mace out into that fan, into the arena. And, they had to empty the whole arena out. Everybody's eyes were burning. I got fired the next day. Nick Goulas called me up and fired me. But he took me back after a week. But anyway, that was my one experience that I remember with Dyersburg, Tennessee.
Did you confess?
Also,
did you confess to that? Yeah.
Okay. Well, there was nobody but me and Sam. I fired us both, actually. So we were the only two that could have been guilty. And that was also the night. That was not the night, but also that same little arena. My good buddy Phil Hickerson, who was just starting out about the same time that I was, and he later teamed up with Dennis Condrey, and they were a big team down here in Memphis for us. But Phil was just getting started, and he was a big old boy, and he was wrestling as some guy with I don't know what his name was, but he had a mask on, and he had wrestled several weeks there in Dyersburg, and it built up to somebody's the good guy's hair against the mask. Something was going to go. Either the good guy was going to get his head shaved, or Phil was going to have to take his mask off. And so the place was sold out, 100 degrees in there, and Phil was getting ready to go out, and he and I were dressing in the same little place. And I looked down in his bag. He had like 4 or 5 different masks that he would wear, you know. And so I said, "Oh my gosh, Phil, you know it'd be funny." He said, "What?" I said, "Put on 2 masks." I said, "Have a mask on under your other mask when you go out there and wrestle." And I said, "Then when you lose the match, and you have to take your mask off, just you know, take off the one mask and you'll still have another mask on, because that's what it says. The loser has to unmask, you know." And he said, "Oh my gosh, that'll be funny." And I said, "Then of course, you know, you'll have to take the other one off." But I said, "It'll get a big pop, right?" So he does it. He goes out, he wrestles the match, loses. The fans there are going crazy. And he takes off the mask, and he's still got another mask on underneath it. And people got so mad. And Phil he was going to come back and completely unmask, but he started to leave the ring like he was going back to the locker room. So the people thought, man, we just really got screwed. And all of a sudden, this little guy, he was about 70 years old, he was on crutches. And he hauled off, and he swung one of those crutches and hit Phil right in the nose, and broke his nose so bad. I mean, he's still to this day, he's got a crooked nose, but it broke Phil's nose so bad he had to go to the hospital, and they had to try to reset his nose. But, you know, that was all because of one of my brilliant ideas that poor Phil, I said, "This will be so funny. Don't just take off one mask and keep another one on underneath." And then he got his nose broken in Dyersburg, Tennessee.
Jeez, a lot of memories in Dyersburg, Tennessee.
Oh, you know, 2.
All right, well, so the hotline lighting up here.
Oh, boy.
We already, you know, we did a little preface to the special episode of Dinner with the King here on Pod Avenue. But I want to bring on Jerry, since you are officially a zombie, but a man that was responsible. Officially, the hero. You know, when you watch the backstage footage of what transpired on that night in Montreal, you see this man, you know, doing whatever he can CPR wise, and I'll never forget the image of the footage of the ambulance driving away, and you see this man, you know, doing CPR on you as the ambulance is driving away from the arena. And we're going to bring on Dr. Michael Sampson, and he was a WWE ringside physician from 2009 to 2013, and he was just literally feet away from you as you, you know, Jerry, suffered your cardiac arrest. But let's bring him on here on Dinner with the King. Dr. Sampson, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Well, I'm doing great, thanks to you. I'm still above ground. You know, and it's so great to talk to you and have you call in, Doc. And you know, I said this. There are probably not a lot of people around that can actually say that there's somebody out there that is responsible for literally saving their lives, and you know that there's a person walking around that without them, you wouldn't be walking around. In my case, I wouldn't be walking around. And I think that's, you know, I feel that's absolutely literally the case with you and I, because had you not been right there at ringside when I had the cardiac arrest, I wouldn't be here, would I?
It was, remembering that you were a Cleveland fan, I might have gone slower with the CPR,
man, oh man. Yes,
it was. I'm only kidding. I'm joking. I love Cleveland.
You need to preface that by saying Doc Sampson is a diehard, like Glenn and I are diehard Cleveland sports fans. Doc Sampson's diehard Pittsburgh sports fans, Steelers and Pirates, and so ordinarily, you're right. I would have had to thought twice too if somebody passed out in front of me and they're wearing a Steelers jersey. I might have had to thought twice before I'd given them CPR. But you did it. Thank goodness.
No. I mean, I've love for all the teams in sports, but no, it was everybody performed admirably that day. Hard to say. With what went down, and luckily with, you know, the stars were aligned and everything went perfectly, and you're a fighter that you pulled through, and it was a wonderful thing. So it was, we got a win out of it. That was the important thing.
Well, when I say that like you were responsible. I mean, because I guess, and like you said, the stars were aligned. Had that happened to me, like after the show was over and we were back in the hotel and I was by myself and didn't have, and you weren't there, I'd have been a goner, wouldn't I?
Yeah, that's what we kind of talked about after we relived, once you were stable and actually flying back on the plane. That's what we talked about was, if this happened really any other place where you didn't have, immediate medical attention, you'd be pushing up some daisies, I believe.
Right. Well, I've been asked about the incident a million times since that, and of course, day before or the 10th of this month, just a few days ago, was the actual 5-year anniversary. And the funny thing, Doc, I still get people literally every day that. And to me, it doesn't seem like it's been 5 years ago, but I guess it to a lot of people, it certainly doesn't seem like it's been that long, because I literally run into somebody that hasn't seen me since that happened, and they'll walk up and go, "Oh, it's so good to see you up and around. I'm so glad you're better now." And I'm like, it's 5 years ago. Come on, give me a break.
Honestly, you were better. You progressed so quickly after the incident. Once you got back, it was like night and day, like nothing really ever happened. So that was kudos to you of just pulling through and doing it. So yeah, it's so bizarre that to think back that it was 5 years ago in Montreal that this actually happened, and we're talking like, it was a major thing, but you just came through it so great. It's incredible. Most people don't do that.
Well, and that is what I've told people. I have absolutely no memory of it, of the incident itself, but from the time I woke up in the hospital and I'm standing there looking at my phone and say, "Lauren," I felt perfectly fine. I've never felt not 1 minute's problem since. So it's like, that's why it's so weird when people come up and say, "Oh, glad to see you're doing better." I've never even felt any after effects from it. Never felt like it even happened. So and
Right.
and as I said, I was sitting there watching the matches. I had no warning. I had no pain. I had no chest pain. I had no nothing, no warning. I just all of a sudden am watching Kane and Daniel Bryan in the ring, and I blinked my eyes, and when I opened them again, I was in the hospital with Lauren standing there. So I don't even know what happened, really. So you were there. What exactly did happen?
Well, the thing was, so we were sitting there watching the match, and Mike, one of the PAs, he kind of taps you on the shoulder. He's like, Doc, check Jerry out." And so I looked over, and I thought, of course, as we always rib, I thought you were just had your head on the desk, kind of snoring from, "Oh, this match is so boring," or whatever. And then, they didn't have the look of joking. They had the look of mouth. And so I just went over and I kind of shook you a little bit and said, Jerry, are you okay? And nothing. And you had that snoring kind of thing going on, which is basically, that you just weren't getting. You were trying to get the oxygen in because your heart was going all over the place. And so I kind of sat you back and I did the sternal rub. And you're a professional wrestler, so you can take pain. But I did the sternal rub, and you did not respond whatsoever. So I got you up, laid you down, and you still weren't responding. So I wasn't about to start doing anything in front of 15,000 people and have YouTube heaven. So we got.
Now, when you say Doc, when you say sternal, you're saying sternal rub. Is that right? What is that?
So basically, you get your knuckles, and I as hard as I can on your sternum, and that hurts like heck.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you guys try that on yourselves right now.
Yeah.
And it hurts. So you're kind of, consciousness or not. I can just tell if you respond to that, and you didn't respond whatsoever. So I knew something was not going on very well. So that's why we kind of picked you up and, took you back and started what we do.
Which was, so you guys did you guys actually carry me back, or did you bring a gurney out, or what did they do?
Well, we got the ambulance crew, we got the Montreal ambulance crew to kind of meet us halfway, and so we picked you up and carried you to the stretcher. Once we got you to the stretcher, started CPR, took you back, and we were doing CPR. Hooked you up to the monitor, shocked you. I think from recollection, it's like 7 times because you'd come back and then you'd go and then you'd come back, and then where it was bagging you, giving you oxygen, that type of stuff. And we were about to actually intubate you when I asked the paramedics, and funny now, but not then, but funny then, they're sitting there, they're doing CPR and they're counting in French.
Oh, really?
That's really the only French I know is counting, but I said, guys, please, English. They're like, oh, sorry. So we were about to intubate you, and I said, how far is the hospital from here?
And what does that mean? What does that mean? You say you're about to, what were you about to do?
So we were basically to put the intubation tube, the breathing tube down into your lungs and start doing it that way. And, basically what they did when they got you to the hospital, we were going to do it in the arena. But, they said that, we actually had a pulse pretty much. You were as stable as you could be at that point. So we said, let's just transport you. And so that's why we got you into the ambulance. And, as video shows, I was doing CPR all the way down, doing chest impressions all the way down on the gurney, and then in the back of the ambulance taking you back, which I had never done before. And it's, kudos to the paramedics and EMTs, because that's hard to do as you're going down the road trying to do CPR on a person. And then we got you to the hospital, got you back in the ER bay, and by that time you're pretty much stable, which was great. And again, at the time it wasn't funny, but the funny thing is, they when we got back to the ER bay, we took you in, and the doctors were checking you out. The nurses were all checking you out. And
what?
The
yeah,
and,
they saw you hitting me in the chest. Then I heard they got in a few shots too. Is that true? I wasn't always popular. I wasn't always popular in Canada because I'd had so many matches against Bret Hart up there, and I'd called Canada Bizarro Land a lot of times. So I'm really happy that they pulled me through.
Yeah, the nurses, they heard your name and go, oh, okay. So I gave them the rundown on what was going on as the paramedics did it in French. So obviously they did it faster, and they said, okay. And then they made me step out, and I said, well, I'm the doctor. And they go, no, we don't need security in here. And I said, no, I'm the doctor. I had to convince them that I was actually, your doctor. And so they let me stay in, and so by that time we explained to them, who you were and what happened and all that. And then that's when they decided to intubate you. So they put the tube down your throat. And then once everything was stable and they'd gotten the EKG and they showed me the EKG and showed that you had a heart attack, then that's when they decided the treatment they wanted to do, which was obviously take you to the cath lab to inject dye into your arteries and veins just to see where the blockage is and what they could do. And so that's when they took you down there and did the I think you had two balloon angioplasties and 3 stents or something like that. I can't exactly remember. But
no, I don't. Then, I may have had an angioplasty, but I don't think any stents, or maybe.
But they didn't do any stents.
I don't think so.
I thought.
I know. Let me just tell you this. You know what you mentioned there. The one really serious after effect that I have had, and I think you could probably hear it right now because I can feel it. When they put that tube or whatever down my throat, it did something where my voice has never been the same since, especially like in the mornings, and it's like raspy, and my singing career was completely over after that. It
was over.
Really,
it was over years ago.
Wait a minute now. But no kidding. I mean, my voice, and I've even gone to a ear, nose, and throat doctor since that time, and they said it just probably damaged the vocal cords. And they said usually that would, repair itself, but mine has never. It is still a problem ever since.
Yeah, that's it. We have to look for the cords when we're putting the scope. Look at the cords, And what's incredible now is they actually have a video scope where you can see the cords before you put it in, as you're doing it. Now, back in the day, you just had to look for the cords and put it down into the airway. So yeah, that's what probably happened. That's why you have that kind of raspy voice. But
hey, Doc, there was a time, I think, what Jerry was 20 minutes. I mean, we joke around and call him a zombie now because he was dead for 20 minutes. I mean, when was the time period that he was clinically brain dead, or was for 20 minutes?
Was brain dead? What do you mean brain dead?
or just clinicky something that for 20 minutes.
My heart wasn't beating by itself. That's why they had to shock me. I was never brain dead. Come on.
If he was brain dead, we wouldn't be. And actually WWE and I, we kind of went through the time frame of what happened and how it happened. We actually found that there was, when he was ringside, he still had a pulse, although it was weak, but he was basically in ventricular fibrillation, which is, the heart's just not beating in sync, and so the blood's not going anywhere. And so we did CPR to kind of circulate the blood, through into his brain the entire time. And then there was times where he'd come out of that rhythm, then he'd go back in and come out. That's why we had to shock him so many times. Mm-hmm. But during that time, we continued to do CPR. Otherwise, yeah, if he'd have had, well, just like we talked about, if he'd have been somewhere else and he'd have medical attention, that heart starts going into that abnormal rhythm. It's out of sync. You don't get blood to the brain. Yeah, you're brain dead, then you're pretty much dead. So from the CPR, that kept his brain alive, if you will. And then once he went into a normal rhythm and we cleared the blockage up, then everything was fine. So yes, he was down for 20 minutes. Was he oxygen deprived to his brain for that long? No. Otherwise, we would not be having this conversation.
I'd sound completely different now talking. I'd be going.
Exactly.
Was there a time, Doc, and this is from a fan who tweeted out to the show, was there a time during this whole time that you were at Jerry's side that you were worried about you were losing him, or you did lose him, or whatnot, or was that not even going through your head?
I don't. When I run codes, which I don't. I hadn't run a code. God, I couldn't tell you when. I don't really think that way because my big thing is, always think positive, always bring him through. He's still around. He's popping back. So there was never a time that I felt that, oh, this is it. Now, interestingly, some of the people that were backstage when we would go to shock him. Well, we have to, amp up the defibrillator. And so once you get to the certain ampage of the voltage of the defibrillator, it beeps, but it sounds like a flat line. And so there's many people that heard that and thought that was a flat line and Jerry was gone and they had to leave. They left backstage. They said, Jerry's done. Jerry's dead. And, to us, obviously, we know what the beep was. So, yeah, there was really never a time I felt this is it. The king has left the building. We were never going to quit.
Well, I know one thing, the shocking, the 7 times, that was the first thing that Lauren noticed about me in the hospital was it actually left burn marks on my chest. I mean, it actually burned my skin.
Oh yeah. It's really electricity. And so you're putting that onto your chest and, we're not going to have time to sit there and shave your chest. And so, yeah, you can definitely get little burn marks from it. So, modesty and aesthetics are not important during that time.
No, you're right. Well, now, and Doc, was that like we didn't explain to people, but as Glenn said, when you came on, not only were you the WWE ringside doctor, you were the WWE doctor. In other words, you handled any injuries that took place during, before, or after the matches and that sort of thing. And you treated the guys for anything that had gone wrong, while they were there at the WWE. Was that like the most serious in-ring, or had there been other in-ring injuries that you had to treat right there at ringside before that?
I mean, that was the most life-threatening, if you will. But there were quite a few injuries that we've went through during my tenure there. They were pretty bad. There were more traumatic, bony or musculoskeletal or bloody type injuries. But that one definitely was the most life-threatening.
Yeah.
I have another question for you. I mean, I know you left in 2013 in WWE, and Jerry obviously has wrestled, hundreds of matches since this cardiac arrest, but not in WWE. I mean, I know WWE doesn't want to take a chance, but I mean, if you were, giving the okay for Jerry, I mean, would he? How does that process work for WWE side and keeping a guy like Jerry, liability? They don't want something happening again. I mean, what's your take on that whole letting Jerry back in WWE as a wrestler, competing again?
Well, the biggest thing with that is anytime you have any type of cardiac event, and again, I can't speak for the legal side of WWE or whatever, but anytime you have any type of cardiac event, from my level, from my medical level, was, get you through it. You survived. Life is good. Now, put it in the hands of the cardiologist to take a look at and say, hey, look, here's what we got. This guy's been wrestling forever. He's in great shape. He can do all this stuff. What can we do? And it's like, that's the medical call, because there's really no, and this was a few other injuries that we had with WWE musculoskeletal wise, that we didn't have anything to go back on to say, oh, hey, let's, look at so-and-so. This is what they did. They got back. We didn't have that. And so there was no right or wrong way to say, yeah, okay, yeah, let's go with it, or no, let's not. So that's a tough call. Because, I mean, obviously you're still wrestling, because you're amazing and you're still wrestling. It's just a matter of, that call was definitely more of a decision.
Yeah, I think that, as Glenn said, and one of the WWE doctors, that Dr. Amon, actually said that they kind of look at me as a liability, and I think when they say liability, it's like public relations wise or image wise. They're just, they have me on what they call, they've always had one of these, a no touch list. Mick Foley's on it. I think Ric Flair's on it, even before his incident, his recent incident. But just there's certain guys that they say you're not supposed to have any physicality with, and they've had me on that list. Even though just like a couple of months after my heart incident, my personal cardiologist, Dr. McDonald here in Memphis, he told me, he looked and he showed me all the stuff, and he said, you were so fortunate that you came out of that. And he credited you guys with that immediate care. He said, you came out of that with no residual damage. I mean, my heart wasn't damaged, nothing in my brain, anything wasn't damaged from that thing. And he said, so like you said, it was like once I got out of the hospital, once it happened, I was as good as new. And he told me at the time, hey, anything you do, any cardio exercise, which is always encouraged for anybody, he said, anything to raise your heart rate is beneficial. And he said, and getting in the ring and competing the way that you do in pro wrestling, he said would be beneficial. And he cleared me immediately. But then I just think that the WWE's doctors said, and the WWE itself said, they would felt that they, to the fans, in the fans' eyes, they would be saying, oh, look at these guys, they're putting poor King out there again after he's had a heart attack. Like most fans don't look at it that way. I mean, most fans do look at it that way, where they'd say, man, they're forcing this guy to wrestle after he's had a heart attack. And look at and I just think it was an image-wise decision for them.
Yeah, I think it's definitely optics. No question about that, because bottom line, and I can say this with all truthful 100%. Wasn't I wasn't the they paid me, so therefore I talk what they want me to talk. The bottom line was health and wellness of the athlete, no question about it. And so, that was number one. But I also think too, it was the optics of saying, hey, look, this guy had a heart attack. Hey, get back in the ring. Wow, they're hardcore. They're this, they're that. And you guys, professional wrestlers are a special breed. I mean, I've worked with athletes in every sport, and I have to say, you guys have the most resiliency and drive and love of what you do, and stuff does not keep you guys away from that ring. And so it's very hard. You guys were the hardest to say no, you can't go back in, versus some other people was like, you could talk to them a few times and they'd be like, yeah, okay. It was hard to keep you guys out of the ring. So it was definitely multifactorial, but I think it's what you said. Yes.
Yeah, I do too. Well, and like I told Glenn and I told you, I gonna have to sit down and actually, because I've got it on record, count how many matches I've had since then. But it's it's like close to 150 matches that I've had in this 5-year period since the incident there in Montreal. So and I've still I've never felt any kind of after effect from that at all. I just I did get a doc. I'm going to send you a picture of my X-ray. I did get a shoulder separation in a match a couple of months ago, or a few months ago. That is like the worst thing that I've had happen to me injury wise in my whole 46-year career. Got dropped on my shoulder from a body slam, and that I guess the ligaments or whatever that hold your collarbone in place got torn, and now it sticks up on my right shoulder, sticks up, and then the doctor said, don't worry about it. It's nothing you can do about it. It doesn't hurt or anything, and I have full range of motion, but it just looks weird, just sticking up there,
Yeah, that's aesthetically, that's what people, they recover from that. They say, hey, can you fix this? It's like, why do you want to fix it? It's just more aesthetic, it's not any type of thing. So, what the funny thing is, so kind of thinking back on this. So when we did the what was the TV show? I flew down to your house.
Yeah, it was either Entertainment Tonight or something like one of those shows.
Yeah. I can't think what it's called. But it was funny because we were going over the match and everything, what happened, and there were so many different ways. People were saying, "Oh, is it Dolph Ziggler's elbows hitting you? Is that what caused it, or was it this, or was it that?" And this, I just love the, everybody thinking what caused us. Like this is what happened, this is what caused it, this is what treated it, it's done. But there was so much speculation of, was it this? Was it this? I know Dolph for the longest time was like, he felt so guilty that he could possibly cause that.
Well, I promise you, I have said over the years, and this is the absolute honest to God truth, that when he was giving me those 10 elbows, after about the 5th one, it honestly went through my mind. I thought to myself, what the hell ever happened to the days when we used to do this and not kill each other? And then, a few minutes later, I died. So it was like the hardest elbows that I have ever gotten in my 46-year career. So I still do. I'm not blaming Dolph Ziggler because he and I have talked about it a million times since, and we even it hadn't been all that long ago. We did a SmackDown here in Memphis, and he came out and we had the little confrontation about it. He wound up kicking me in the chest again, and I'm challenging him to come back in the ring. But so that's a good storyline of wrestling that we would like to keep. That I at least like to keep alive.
Right.
But I really did feel that way, and I really did think that while that match was going on 5 years ago.
Well, the thing is, there is a medical condition called commotio cordis, and it's basically, you'll hear it more with baseball players, where somebody's standing up there to take a pitch, and they get a wild pitch, and it hits them in the chest. But statistically, it has to hit you at the right portion of your chest, at the right heartbeat, and it throws your heartbeat into an irregular rhythm. It's very rare, but it does happen. And so that was some of the thought process of going through it was, did he give you commotio cordis, which sounds some sexual in a way if you think about it, but it's really not.
No, there was nothing sexual about that. But you know what? Now that I know the name of it, that's what I'm going to claim happened. Commotio cordis, because you say it's very rare, but see, and so is like knocking the bottles at the 3 milk bottles at the Mid-South Fair or something. But if you got 10 shots at it, you might hit it one time. And I think Dolph took 10 shots, and out of the 10, he hit one of those commotio cordis elbows on me.
I'll go with that.
Okay, let's go with that. Listen, Doc, thank you. We've taken up enough of your time. I really appreciate you being on, and I really appreciate you. I really do. I mean, I think about you all the time, and still one of the coolest things about that happening to us up in Montreal, Vince McMahon actually flew us home from Montreal on his private jet, didn't he? Well, he wasn't there. He sent his private jet for us to fly back to Memphis on.
Yeah, because we were about to do a pay-per-view in White Plains, and he or Triple H came over and said, "Hey Doc, I need you to go pick up Jerry." And I said, "Oh, okay, that's kind of a drive, but okay." He's like, "No, you're taking the jet. You're going to be on the jet. You're going to go pick him up and take him to Memphis." I'm like, "Okay." And so, yeah, that was an amazing. Well, obviously, from the time I left you in Montreal in the ICU, all hooked up, gorked out, to the time I got off the plane to come down and see you in the car, it was like such an amazing experience to see that. And that's why I gave you the big hug, but then I'd forgotten that I'd crushed your chest. So, yeah.
Yeah, my chest was sore for a while from
experience.
What was that thing you said it was? The stern, whatever it was you gave me, the sternum.
Sternal rub?
Yeah, the sternal rub. I think you need to rechange that to the sternal crush or something. Well, listen, thanks, Doc. Thank you much for being on here. And yeah, you're right. I did get a W there. Listen, thanks so much, Doc, for being on, and we really appreciate talking to you. And let's talk more often, okay? But not in the hospital. Let's do it on the phone.
Right. Exactly. No, I definitely appreciate it, and I look forward to many more anniversaries. And let's catch up throughout the year.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right, so there's Doc Sampson recalling the events from that evening up in Montreal. And Jerry, I know a lot of people, when you faced Cody Rhodes last month, a lot of the tweets were like, they were like, Jerry still wrestles? They couldn't understand that you still wrestled, and they were concerned for you. They thought some people thought you were coming back from your cardiac arrest. This is like your first match back.
I know
it. I
Cody
get that
Rhodes.
every
day. I'm telling you.
I'm like,
I get that every match. But, somebody will come up and think that that's the first time that I've been in a ring in the 5 years that's gone on since the commotio cordis. I'm going to start calling it the commotio cordis from now on. And people will go, what? Yeah, commotio cordis. You never heard of it?
Give me a sternum rub.
Yeah, let me give you one right now.
Really quick, I'm going to post a video on our Twitter page at Dinner with King. When I was in Jackson, Tennessee with you, when you faced Terry Funk at the Oman Arena, and people were coming up and signing autographs, there was a photo that you autographed was from that match up in Montreal, just basically moments before you suffered your cardiac arrest, and it's where you're jumping off like the middle rope, giving the your version of the 5-knuckle shuffle to Dolph Ziggler just moments before. So that's very kind of eerie, signing an autograph moments before you suffered an event that could have killed you.
Yeah, that's probably the last autograph that was signed before. That was I would like to still have that. That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So next week, Jerry, I tweeted this out. I have a surprise guest for the show.
You do?
I'm not even going to tell you. You're not even going to know until.
Hey, did you see my tweet that I sent out? On the anniversary of me, the picture that we talked about with the doc. The picture of them working on me and everything.
Yeah.
Look, that got 370 retweets, but it got 2,754 likes. Oh. Does that mean all of those people liked the fact that I was laying there basically dead, or what does that mean?
Come on, they liked you that you survived, Jerry.
Oh, okay.
Now, if there was like a thumbs down button, you know, I'm sure.
Yeah, they need a dislike button on there, don't they?
No, you can't be negative now, Jerry. Everybody has to be positive nowadays. I have a surprise guest for you next week, and you're not going to know until the person calls in.
What?
The show. Yeah, you're not going to know.
Why are you going to do that to me? You're really not going to tell me after we get off of this podcast who it's going to be?
You want me to tell you off the air, Jerry?
Well, of course. I don't want to be. I hate surprises.
I'm not going to tell everybody on the air. I'll tell you off the air who their guest is going to be. But for the listeners, we have a surprise guest for next week's show, and really looking forward to having this guest on. I didn't think I could do it. Didn't think it was possible, but we have a very special guest for next week's show. So we appreciate the time Doc Sampson gave us on the show. Jerry, anything you want to wrap the show up with?
No, I'm just still looking at this tweet of me laying there dead. I don't look bad. I'll look nice in the.
Oh, come on.
Did you ever see? I mean, this was so tacky, but at Elvis's funeral, somebody wore a camera. One of his Memphis Mafia guys, they found out later, but wore a little tie-tack camera in there and took a picture of Elvis. And then, of course, it was on the National Enquirer, the cover of the National Enquirer, a picture of Elvis in his casket. And he did not look good.
Jerry, I'm going to be morbid right now. I'm going to be morbid.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, do you have, did you have like a funeral setup or a will or something like that? I mean, I'm sure you have a will, but do you have like your...
You know what? I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm telling the world this right now. No, I did not. And I don't even have a will. Isn't that terrible?
What?
And that's the one thing that Lauren has told me. I've really got to do that. I do. But to me, you talk about being morbid. I don't know. I've always been under the assumption of, when you make out a will, it's almost like you're betting against yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I know that in reality, it's something that you really need to do.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to do it.
Because who's going to get the Batmobile, Jerry? If something happens to you like today.
Do you want me to remember you in my will?
Yeah. There's a joke for this, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah. When they read the will, they'll say, and to my friend Glenn Moore, who I promised to remember in my will. Hi, Glenn.
You know what, Jerry? I think you made that joke before on the past podcast.
I probably did.
But like I said, I will be if I got called into some will reading, whatever they do for a will. I haven't been a part of one, and that happened, and you said hi to me in your will. I would be forever. That would be more than anything you could leave me, Jerry.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll do that.
So leave me the Batmobile, though. I would love the Batmobile.
Oh yeah, see, there we go. Now the fighting starts.
The Batmobile would be great.
You'll be there with a copy of this podcast saying, I contest this will because he promised me live on a broadcast that he would leave me the Batmobile.
You leave the Batmobile, his WWE Hall of Fame ring.
Good grief.
What else? The Hulk, the 10-foot statue of the Hulk.
So you don't want any of the money. You just want the stuff.
No, I don't want anything, Jerry. I just want to say, if you say hi to me in your will, that'd be cool.
Okay.
That'd be cool with me. But we have. So you need to get a will, Jerry. We need to get that done for you.
Let's do a podcast about wills.
Do you have like a recommendation for like your? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? I mean, what do you want?
Oh no, I don't want to be cremated. No,
so you want to be
definitely not.
Are you going to have like a Graceland?
I would actually to be like, what was that name? Was it Stalin or Lenin who was actually put in a glass thing where people could still come by and look at him every now and then? He didn't decompose or anything.
Do you have a burial? Do you have a burial site picked out or not or no?
I actually do. And listen, we may have talked about this. I bought, and this happens to you. Like when my mom passed away.
Yeah. And
she's buried alongside my dad at Memphis Memorial Park over here, not far from my house. And of course, man, the people that run cemeteries and funeral homes and everything, they are like vultures. They pounce on you with both feet when you're in the moment, when you're grieving and that sort of stuff. And that was the first thing I got hit with. What? You don't have burial plans for yourself? You have, all this. So they wound up selling me a plot, of course. And then not only did they sell me a plot, they sold me a, not a monument or marker, but the thing that covers your grave. And I'm going to be buried right next to Isaac Hayes. As a matter of fact, they literally have a celebrity row here in at Memphis Memorial Park. And that's what the lady that sold me this said, the manager would love to have you out here.
Oh my
we have a
God.
celebrity.
They're dying to have you come out.
Yeah, exactly what they said. They would love to have you out here. I said, okay, but just don't rush things.
Jeez.
But anyway,
that is incredible. So you're going to be buried next to Isaac Hayes.
Isaac Hayes, yeah.
Jeez. So do you ever go to your plot and just look at it and be like, wow, that's where I'm going to be? And
well, yes, I have.
so you go there and just look at the ground and be like,
I have done that twice. Yes, I have. Wow. And I've said, this is where I'm going to be.
On your own? Just going there?
No. Lauren and I went, and I said, this is a spot. God. And then the thing that's going to go on the grave, I'll have to go over and take a picture of Isaac Hayes. I mean, it's a really cool, and it's like Elvis Presley has the same type thing. It's like a 8 to 10 foot long piece of it's a bronze thing that covers the entire grave plot, and it's got all these pictures. I mean, Isaac Hayes is so cool. It's like his whole life is laid out in pictures on this bronze plate. It's amazing looking thing.
Are you going to have you're just going to have a headstone, or are you going to have something special?
That's what this is. It's a thing that covers your grave, and it's not a sticking up headstone. It's the thing that lays flat.
Okay.
And it's a really beautiful bronze thing. It costs like $50,000.
So you have it already? It's already.
I've already bought it. I just haven't given them. And that's another thing. I'm waiting. That I haven't given them the pictures and the layout that I want on that.
Jeez, this is so. I never thought I would discuss this with you, Jerry, on the podcast.
But I'm morbid. Yeah, that's what we have when we have Doc Sampson on.
But I'm curious. So you're gonna have. So it's kind of like Graceland. Elvis's, his is like, the size of his grave, and it has his name and I think a quote or stuff like that. So it's kind of like that. But you're gonna have. You
got your computer there right in front of you. I bet you can look up Isaac Hayes's gravesite.
Yeah. This is just.
And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
So you're
it's it's a similar thing to Elvis, except Isaac Hayes. Elvis's is beautiful too, but it just has writing on it. And the one that I got that's going to be like Isaac's is got all of these pictures.
Oh, okay, I see it. So it's like
are amazing looking.
So it's geez, it's like okay, yeah, wow, okay, yeah. This is really detailed. So you're
and then the next thing you get when you tell people about that, they want their picture included on your final resting.
Jerry, can I have my picture out with you? Can we have our podcast logo?
Can I be on your?
Can I be on your
picture? You and I hanging out together on your grave.
Oh, geez, no, this will be. God, Jerry, this is just morbid. Because I know.
Tweet out that picture of Isaac Hayes.
Oh, I will. I will when the podcast drops. But yeah, this is really detailed. It's like yeah. So you're gonna have. So that's going to be the same kind of thing.
Those things cost $50,000.
So you got to pick the photos that you're going to have on there, right?
Yeah, you got to pick out the photos.
Jeez. So you're gonna have.
Listen, I want our listeners, the podcast listeners, to tweet out and some pictures of me that they think would be the perfect.
Oh God.
The perfect.
I got a waffle fry in my throat.
that you think would be the perfect picture of me to memorialize me for all eternity. That should be the main picture on my. I say tombstone, but it's not actually a tombstone.
You know what? That's going to be a touchy thing. I don't think you should do that, Jared, because we know what you're going to get. You're going to get the idiots that are going to tweet out some, bad stuff probably, or a mugshot, or just stuff like that. Probably. I mean,
excuse me, I'm gonna spit take on my diet there.
But no, that is terrific though. That's going to be okay. I mean, I know. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying. I can't believe I'm saying this. But
you want to help design it? Come on.
No. But I'm talking about it with you now, and hopefully I don't pass before you do. But I mean,
wait a minute.
I mean, I'm 33.
I'm hoping that you do.
I'm 34 years old, so I mean, anything can happen. God forbid something happens to either one of
You
us.
could get hit by a bus out here in front of Target, right here in front of the restaurant.
I mean, yes, I could. This show might even be our last show. Who knows? But I'm saying,
how has this turned so morbid?
I'm talking about this with you, and I'm gonna go to your grave, Jerry, and be like, wow, I remember that one day I was talking about. He mentioned he was gonna have something like this.
Yeah.
Just, jeez, well. On that note, this is a great episode of the podcast. Very morbid, very. Who's going to be on the other side of you? We got Isaac Hayes on one side. Who's on the other side?
I'm hesitant to mention this. No, I'm not even going to.
Come on, no, come on. Who is it?
Well, I can't remember his first name, but he's already there.
Okay.
He's already there. And he was a local Memphis musician, or maybe not musician, maybe a performer.
Okay.
He was like a rap guy or something like that.
Okay.
But his I don't know. I can't remember what his first name was, but it's something. He was something retard.
What?
Yeah, and that's right on his grave.
Memphis. So he was a rapper.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so Memphis.
Are you looking that up now?
Memphis rapper retard. I can't. Memphis rapper. I don't know. I you put in Memphis rapper retard in Google, it comes up with a lot of different stuff. I'm sure I'll tweet it out, but I find it. But yeah, so you're gonna be buried between these two guys. So this guy's a celebrity. The rapper, was he well known?
He was a kind of a local. He had a little bit of a following there.
Oh, Jerry,
What is it?
Very interesting show. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be very, very entertained with our morbid curiosity of Jerry Lawler's.
I'm trying to now. I'm looking on my phone to try to find this guy.
Yeah, Isaac Hayes. He died in 2008. It's been that long already. Wow.
I know. I swear. I remember. I remember it like yesterday. Back when we were doing the WWE shows at the studios in New York or in Stamford, and I would have to fly every week up to Stamford to do the voiceover and stuff for Raw or SmackDown or whatever we was doing, and Isaac would be on the same flight with me. He was going to do. Oh, there he is, Jay Retard.
Jay Retard.
Reatard, American musician.
Okay, here we go. Jay Retard. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who was he with? Associated with the retard?
His name was Jimmy Lee Lindsay Jr., better known by the stage name Jay Retard.
Yeah.
He was an American musician from Memphis, Tennessee. He was signed to Matador Records. He released recordings as a solo artist and as a member of the Retards. So he died in 2010.
Geez, so he was found dead in his home in Tennessee, 3:30 a.m. In 2010 by his roommate.
Mm-hmm.
And he died in his sleep. Jeez, he was only 29 years old.
Yeah, he was a young guy.
Wow, so you're gonna have some musicians. So you're gonna play a music in your grave. Jared.
No kidding.
You're gonna have Isaac Hayes.
And that's like I say, Isaac Hayes and I used to be on the same flight every week from Memphis to New York, and because he was going up. That was when he was taping. What was the show that he was on?
South Park.
Yeah, South Park. He was doing the South Park voiceovers every week in New York, and we would be on the same flight. Jeez. And we'd sit and talk, and I'll never forget one day I'm standing in line at the Delta. Dear. What?
So I'm sorry, really quick. Are you to the left or to the right of Isaac?
If you're standing looking at his grave, I'm to the right.
Oh, okay. Jesus, I found a photo of the plot. This is where Jerry Lawler is going to be buried. Yep. Somebody took a photo of a side view, and the side view is showing the side that you're going to be on.
Man.
This is nuts. I can't believe I'm looking at this. Okay, I'm sorry. Go on. What was your story?
No, I was just saying we were standing in line. We were like in a long line to check in, and it was me, and then right behind me was Isaac Hayes, and then all of a sudden Calipari walks up. John Calipari walks up when he was coach of Memphis and behind Isaac, and he said, "Man, if the three of us can't get to the front of a line, I don't know what's wrong here in this city."
Unbelievable. A very morbid dinner with the king here this week, and hopefully everybody got through this because this was
very morbid.
Very, very morbid. But I'll treat the photo of Jerry's plot where he's going to be buried.
Come on, you don't have to do that.
We'll have that on Twitter. But this Isaac Hayes, grave, the art in this is just amazing, just detailed.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's
what we want to find out. What people think I should have on mine.
Yeah. So you have a big funeral. I'm sure you got a lot of people coming to yours.
I don't know. What do you mean? I have no idea.
You will. You have all the WWE stars coming. I'll take a Greyhound on the way down.
Yeah, you'll come down on the Greyhound, of course.
Of course. They go get some barbecue. Will you have your food truck there at your funeral?
Do you get frequent rider miles on Greyhound?
I don't.
Is there such a thing?
I haven't taken a Greyhound I took it to WrestleMania this past year to Florida. No, you know. I think you do, but I don't take it that often to get rewards. I just enjoy taking a bus, man. It's nice.
The scenic view. I know it.
Nice.
I told you I used to want to be a bus driver when I was a kid. That was my dream. We had ridden on a Greyhound bus from Memphis to Cleveland when I was 7 years old, and at that time, believe it or not, the Greyhound bus was a big deal. And they even had a merch store at the Greyhound headquarters. At the bus terminal, you could buy the little buses, and I bought those. I got those, and you could buy a bus driver's cap. And I got pictures of me wearing my Greyhound bus driver's cap. I loved it, and every time I'd ride my bicycle, I imagined I was driving a bus.
Would you have been a bus driver if wrestling didn't work out for you?
Maybe. That was what I thought I wanted to be when I was 7.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up. Anything you want to promote, King?
I think that may have been the Ralph Cramden influence on me. I'm not sure.
Anything
you know who Ralph Cramden is?
No, I do not.
Are you serious? How old did you say you were? 32, and you don't know who Ralph Cramden is?
I'm 34. The Honeymooners?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So he was played by Jackie Gleason.
Okay. Jackie Gleason, of course.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
man.
I'm sorry. This just shows from 1955, Jerry. Okay, my parents weren't even born yet, so calm down.
I moved to Cleveland, Ohio, in 1957. So that's when I was 8 years old. I was watching The Honeymooners. It was the biggest show in the country.
What year did you move to Cleveland?
It's still on. Honeymooners is still on. I just watched it the night before last down in Florida.
I don't watch old TV, Jerry. What year did
you should every now and then you should watch some old TV.
When did you move to Cleveland?
1957.
Oh, so 3 years after the Indians were in the World Series.
Yeah, and I was still there in 1964, the last time the Browns won the NFL championship.
Wow.
We didn't move back to Memphis till 65.
And I wasn't. My parents were alive. My parents were small children at the time, and I wasn't even.
Rocky Colavito. I was watching the TV. I watched the game when Rocky Colavito hit 4 home runs. A lot of people say they were there. I wasn't there, but I was watching it when Rocky Colavito hit 4 home runs for the Indians.
I'm going to get a lot of flack on Twitter from our old school listeners for not knowing who Ralph Cramden was.
Ralph Cramden, you're not lying. You sure are.
I think I can see it now. Anything you want to promote, King? Anything going on this week for you?
Oh, no, nothing major. I'm just wrestling for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship.
Oh, that's right.
Saturday night.
That's right.
No big deal. Ralph Cramden's more important.
And your gravesite's more important.
Jeez. Yes, Saturday night over in Hot Springs, Arkansas, wrestling for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. I just tweeted out, and I saw Jim Cornette retweeted it. Did you see the the classic old wrestling card that we had at the Mid-South Coliseum? Oh, wait a minute. Here it is right here. This is a Monday night event that was at the Mid-South Coliseum, September 10th, 1973. There's a big picture of Lou Thez And the third match on that card was Lou Thesz versus Carl Gotch.
Wow.
Lou Thesz versus Carl Gotch, followed by a tag battle, Jerry Lawler and the Scorpion with manager Sam Bass versus Jackie and Roughhouse Fargo.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
The Kangaroos, remember the Kangaroos, Al Costello? The Kangaroos with manager Sir Clements were going against Tojo Yamamoto and Johnny Marlin. And then the midgets match, Bobo Johnson against Little Tokyo was on the card, but Carl Gotch against Lou Thesz, and I'm on the same card with those guys. Crazy.
That's amazing. How was your lunch with Lance Russell?
Oh my gosh, it was awesome. Lance came and he had his two sons with him and one of their wives, and he was just great. And man, it was like we were doing a personal appearance here last week. It was like a photo turned into a photo shoot. Everybody wanted to have the picture made with Lance. It was awesome.
How's he doing? How's Lance doing?
He's doing great. He's really, really doing good. And it was funny that his son. I asked him how old he is, and his son leaned in and he said, "Yeah, Dad, how old are you? Do you remember?" And he said, "What do you mean, do I remember? Of course I remember. I'm 91, and I'll be 92 March this." I don't even remember what date he said, but his son said, "That's exactly right." So that's Lance going to be 92 in March.
92 years old for good old Lance Russell. We got to get Lance on the show. But speaking of next week, we'll have a special guest. And I'm not going to tell you who it is, Jerry, but it could be a male, it could be female. Who knows? We'll be the guest next week on Dinner with the King. You can follow us on Twitter at Dinner with King on Twitter, Facebook, Dinner with the King. Podavenue.com/King is the website. You can get all the links to the downloads, to information about the show. You can listen to it on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, or in all the podcast apps. And we really appreciate you guys listening. If you want to send Jerry an email for the show, you can email dinnerwiththeking@podavenue.com. That's dinnerwiththeking@podavenue.com. Or you can tweet at us at dinnerwithking. Until next week, we'll talk to you later.
The preceding show is a Pod Avenue production.